Okay. So it is definitely much later than I intended it to be, but we're going with chapter day. Damn, my face looks bad. And I think I got a sleepy somewhere in my... But anyway, it's a lot later than I had hoped. But we're uploading a chapter today. We're on chapter 4 of book number 4 of Reaper Adventures, which is Protection. Reaper Adventures Protection, chapter 4 of book number 4. And very sorry about the very late uploading. It's been really busy. Help, please send help. I need help. Anyway, we're on book number 4. Don't bring your kids, because we're going to continue, but you don't want to bring your kids, because it's not kid-friendly. No kids. Fur babies are excluded, I suppose, because they're going to follow you, even in the bathroom. Anyway, don't bring your kids, your people kids, because it's not people kid-friendly. It's for mature audiences only. I mean, there's no sex scenes. I blurred out curse words, but there's no written curse words. There is a fight scene between the Reapers and the first 3 horsemen of the apocalypse, which we've passed. There is a scene of abduction. I keep saying scene, but it's a mention of abduction. That was last chapter. There is a mention of torture, which is in this chapter. So there's a mention of torture and one or more scenes of torture. And there is mentions of alcoholism. So not only does this chapter have a mention of torture, it also has a mention of how alcohol can kind of addle the mind and things like that, blah, blah, blah. Moving on. We're on chapter 4. Don't bring your kids. You know the reasons why. And everything else. And it's a relatively... Actually, this is the longest chapter I've had in a bit. Moving on. We're going to continue now. That phone's pissing me off. It's not my phone, so I don't answer. Why did we choose Safe Light? Driving around is how we tap in. Continuing. So when our windshield cracked, chapter 4. Payne had done his best to attempt to convince the Reaper bounce the chair to help them find war, famine, and pestilence. Now he was outside, doing his best to ignore the occasional screams of agony that broke the silence. Ouch. He hadn't been able to convince the Reaper to help. Unfortunately, guilt gnawed at Payne's stomach as he sank to the ground, staring up at the serene-looking sky. The irony in that, I mean, you know torture is going on the inside, but you look up at the sky and it's also pretty and blue and serene looking. That's horrible. Shit. Anyway, continuing. Eventually the door opened, and the demon emerged with a bloodied Reaper. He's changed his mind, the demon said when Payne looked at him. The Reaper was silent as he carefully removed a remnant of War's presence that lingered on the Nephilim. The Nephilim, we all know, is Payne, so when I say the Nephilim, I'm referring to Payne from someone else's point of view. Moving on. He mentally invoked the tracking spell. The ropes of spiritual energy formed, and then the demon, the Nephilim, as well as Norman, followed the ropes of spiritual energy. The demon had decided to stay behind the Nephilim, while the Reaper was obviously in the lead. The demon sensed someone familiar and paused slightly as he glanced over his shoulder. It was obvious that they had concealed their presence and were staying out of eyesight. The demon continued to follow the Nephilim and the Reaper, making sure his brief investigation hadn't caused too far of a distance. Getting separated from the Nephilim wasn't a good proposition in the demon's personal opinion. Reaper, the demon called. Norman stopped walking and looked at his captor being the demon, because Continuing. Continuing. Are you sure that you're not well known to anyone else? The demon asked. Norman nodded with confused confirmation. The demon studied Norman. The people you work with, are they like you? The demon questioned. Norman glared at the demon as he reluctantly nodded. Would they look for you? The demon inquired. Norman shrugged as a reply. The demon was silent and then sighed with mild exasperation. How much further? The demon asked, changing the subject. Norman shrugged again and began to walk again, following the ropes to wherever war, famine, and pestilence were. The Nephilim followed Norman, slowing his steps slightly to be able to talk to the demon. Do you think we're being followed? Payne asked in a whisper. We are being followed by a group of reapers, the demon replied in a quiet voice. Payne was silent as he swiftly and expertly surveyed the surrounding area, because he's gotten really good at that, by the way. I can't really say I blame him. Continuing. Should I prepare myself? Payne cautiously breathed. No. Let them think we don't know. I'm not sure what that was supposed to be, but excuse me, I burped. Continuing. No. Let them think we don't know, the demon answered softly. The Nephilim gave him a worried glance, but nodded to let him know that he understood why. I gotta change that a little bit when I'm typing that up, so. The demon, Payne, and Norman found where war, famine, and pestilence were, and the ropes of spiritual energy vanished. They had finished their feast of animal souls, which, while thoroughly unsatisfying, had allowed them to regain their strength. Yes?
Oh, I see you got your whiskey.
Mountain Dew. Can't have whiskey anyway. Nah.
You just show them the Mountain Dew, you don't show them the whiskey you put in it.
Mountain Dew.
Yeah, you done threw out the whiskey bottle.
You know, I do love me my vodka.
You're smart, that's why. You put it in there and then throw it out so I can't prove it.
Well, I don't actually do that. It's a running joke now. I'm gonna continue. Thoroughly unsatisfying had allowed them to regain their strength. Thank goodness I didn't have to repeat that entire paragraph. Continuing. Can I go now? Norman asked the demon as war, famine, and pestilence debated among themselves about their options. If you want, I can read that later.
Of course.
Okay.
I didn't want to disturb you while you were doing it. Really.
No, I mean, that one smudge is easy. Okay. No.
You better give me my girl, goddammit.
Yep. I will fucking punch you. No, because now you're asking for it.
Peace.
See, you're asking for it now.
Of course.
I can't hold two knives and two...
God damn it.
Moving on. As war, famine, and pestilence debated among themselves about their options. Oh. Take your phone. It's pissing me off. Moving on. It keeps blinging.
Oh, mine or yours?
Yours.
Oh, yeah, she's...
Yeah. I kind of figured that was the case, so. Moving on. Shit. Moving on. Did I say you could? The demon countered as he looked at Norman. Well, no. But I thought you would decide that to be best. Norman answered. What would make you think that? The demon questioned with mild amusement at Norman's slight despair. I'm not going to be anything but trouble for you guys? Norman said, unsure of why he was asking instead of telling them what they already knew. I'm pretty sure we all know that. You know too much, though, so we can't let you go. The demon explained. I can just teleport myself away from you, Norman stated. I'm aware, the demon said with a sigh. When we find you again, I won't be so easy with torturing you, the demon told Norman. That was going easy? Norman asked with disbelief. I can prove to you that I was indeed being easy on you, the demon said with a slight frown. Norman realized that convincing the demon to let him go was pointless. My cats, Norman told the demon. Let me get them, Norman explained. Oh, there we go. Excuse me, I burped. I'll get your cats, the demon sighed after some silence. Oh my gosh, now I think I got the hiccups. If you're wondering what hiccups are, they're hiccups combined with burps, and they're actually extremely painful. Moving on. You won't grab everything of theirs. That and they won't like you, Norman pointed out. Well, then, someone is going to go with you. I'm not going to risk you being able to escape with the information you now know, the demon stated, destroying any hope Norman had for any possible escape. Do I get to choose who comes with me? Norman questioned. No, the demon responded. By now, war, famine, and pestilence had come to a unison agreement to remain with the demon and the Nephilim. Though it was said with extreme irritation, they grudgingly admitted that they needed the demon and the Nephilim just as much as the demon and Nephilim needed them. I shall go with our captive to make sure he retrieves his cats and everything needed for his cats, War said as Famine told the demon and Nephilim of their decision. Thank you, the demon reluctantly mumbled with irritation. War returned the Nephilim's wallet, not explaining why it was melted and stuck closed as a result. War then grabbed their captive's shoulder, and the Reaper reluctantly teleported to his apartment. He gathered Cloud and Stockings with their litter, food, and food bowls, along with their toys and water bowls. Cloud and Stockings weren't thrilled about being in their carriers, and War allowed Norman to write a note to the landlord as to his sudden disappearance. Norman was about to seize the opportunity to escape when War grabbed his shoulder, preventing him from freeing himself from captivity. Yeah, I gotta change that one up when I'm typing too, but okay. I applaud you for trying, but it will not work, War said with a chuckle. Norman felt the hope he had vanished just as quickly as it had appeared. Sorry, Cloud. Sorry, Stockings. Try and hold your breath. It'll be a short trip, I promise, Norman told Cloud and Stockings. War thought of the hiding place as Norman teleported them there. The demon was there, as were Famine, Pestilence, and the Nephilim. I do not believe we have time to take anything, Pestilence pointed out. What is going on? War asked. Ask the Reaper, the demon spat. I didn't think they would try to get me, Norman explained. You told us you weren't well known by anyone, the demon reminded Norman. I'm just the maintenance worker at the place you took me from. I don't know them that well, Norman exclaimed with frustration. You work with them? Payne questioned, finding what he was looking for as Norman nodded with confirmation. How could you honestly think you're not well known by anyone if you work with them? Payne inquired with exasperation. I'm just the maintenance worker, Norman repeated. That doesn't matter. You still work with them, Payne said in a raised voice. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell. We have to go, Payne said, apologizing to Norman. They swiftly left their hiding place and decided to go separate ways to lose their persistent pursuers. It's got a kind of catchy ring to it, but moving on. Payne was with the demon, War was with Norman, and Famine was with Pestilence. They had no idea where to meet up in the woods and didn't want to meet up in Jeromeson, so they decided to search for the vaguely described location of an old covered bridge that may or may not have fallen apart and been swept away. It was the only place Payne had been able to think of off the top of his head. Because of that reason, they had agreed to look for it, or the possible remnants, in the hopes that Reapers were more territorial than Norman had said. Which they really kind of aren't, but anyway, some of them can be. Some of them not so much. You gotta keep in mind they were human at one point. So, I'm gonna continue now. Payne and the demon were the first ones to encounter the poorly described stream. The demon looked at Payne. Is this the stream? The demon asked. Yeah, this is it, Payne said after he looked around for a little while. Poor description, the demon mumbled. Poor description or not, it was good enough, apparently, Payne stated. The demon meant to argue, and then decided to remain silent. The Nephilim was right, though the demon didn't want to verbally admit it. Which way is this bridge? The demon inquired, deciding not to agree with the Nephilim about his poor yet good enough description. Let me figure out where we are first, Payne replied with embarrassment. The demon looked at Payne as Payne purposefully ignored him to search for a familiar landmark to indicate if the bridge was nearby. I'm pretty sure we have to go downstream, Payne said after some consideration. Pretty sure? How sure is pretty sure? The demon questioned. Pretty sure. You know, Payne answered as he headed downstream. No, I don't know pretty sure, the demon commented. Well, there's a possibility we're going the wrong way. I'm pretty sure this is the right way, though, because these landmarks aren't familiar to me, Payne told the demon. There's still a possibility we're going the wrong way, the demon pointed out. If that's the case, we'll just turn around and go back upstream, Payne said with a smile. You sound extremely happy about the possibility of going the wrong way, the demon stated. I do? Payne asked, and then after slight consideration, shrugged, and continued going downstream with a slight bounce to his step that the demon hadn't seen. You are happy about that, the demon observed. Yeah, I guess I am, Payne agreed. Why? The demon questioned, curious despite himself. Because this feels like an adventure. You know, the ones in fantasy games, running from people that want to catch you, all odds stacked against you, and somehow you beat the odds? How can I not be excited? Payne countered, unable to contain his excitement. What if you don't beat the odds? You don't respawn and get a second chance, the demon stated. Yeah, I know that. That's what makes it exciting and terrifying all at once, Payne said as he looked at the demon with a smile of pure joy and absolute nervousness. You humans are confusing, the demon commented as Payne turned back around. Yeah, we are confusing. We confuse ourselves sometimes, Payne agreed. The demon decided not to ask how humans could confuse themselves, and then wondered just how humans had survived for this long. I'm a human, and I wonder the same damn thing sometimes. Continuing. After a long time, where Payne was now positive that they had gone the wrong way, he spotted the remnants of the bridge. I found it! I found the remains, Payne said, as he pointed to the remains by the banks of the stream and scattered in the stream itself. I was beginning to wonder, the demon sighed, as he followed Payne to where the remains of the bridge was. Famine and pestilence arrived shortly after Payne and the demon reached the remains. They waited for War and Norman, and after some discussion to search for them, War and Norman made their way to the remnants of the bridge. How are we going to cross? We do not need any unnecessary attention, War pointed out before Payne could reply with teleport or fly. Payne was silent as he reconsidered the options of flying or teleporting. There's a fallen tree somewhere along the banks, Payne answered. We passed it, War said, and then headed downstream. Payne, the demon, Famine, Pestilence followed with Norman reluctantly in tow. The sun was beginning to set when they reached the fallen tree. Payne was glad he had found his leather jacket before they had been forced to leave. It may be late spring, but nights still tended to get cold. They crossed the natural bridge that the fallen tree provided and continued on their way, staying close to the stream. After some time, the demon somehow managed to convince War, Famine, and Pestilence to let Payne and Norman rest for the night. War, Famine, and Pestilence glanced at Norman. "Hello there, my little fur baby. How are you doing, Blackberry?" Oh, okay. To let Payne and Norman rest for the night. War, Famine, and Pestilence glanced at Norman, who didn't look tired. They turned their attention to Payne, who was falling asleep on his feet. They found a natural shelter, and the demons started a small fire to make sure that the living beings would keep warm. Technically, the living beings being really only Payne? I guess in a way the demon would be a living being, but I'm not really sure, so kind of don't quote me on that, because I don't know. Moving on. Payne mumbled something in his sleep, and the demon realized that Payne would need to eat. The demon stood up and told War, Famine, and Pestilence what he was doing before heading out to find some kind of food for Payne when he woke up. The demon eventually found something for Payne to eat, killed it, and dragged it back. Famine helped the demon skin and gut the dead deer. Yeah. Anyway, the demon nibbled on the organs as he watched Famine butcher the deer. Famine began to cook the now butchered deer as War kept an eye out for any animals that would be attracted by the scent of the dead deer. Oh, excuse me. My goodness. Pestilence also watched for any animals or wandering people. Payne had woken up and had begun to eat some of the cook. Really? Are you gonna be loading too for forever? Moving on. Payne had woken up and begun to eat some of the cooked venison. He had fallen asleep again after he ate his fill and said thank you to Famine. The venison was completely cooked by the time the sun rose, and the demon had decided to never chew on bones again. He had used the bone's liver to remove some organ shreds from between his teeth, had chewed on the bone, and after making a face of disgust, had tossed it aside and hadn't picked it up again. The sun rose higher in the sky, and the demon reluctantly put the fire out. Payne woke up and drank some water from the nearby stream, and after some wishful thinking for a cup of coffee as he freshened up a little bit, he followed the demon, War, Famine, Pestilence, and the reluctant hostage named Norman. They eventually stumbled onto a large piece of land with a barn and a trailer. In the parking lot was a police cruiser, and curiosity made Payne cautiously head over to the police cruiser. The demon noticed Payne's change of direction and wrapped a hand around Payne's wrist before Payne reached the cruiser. "What are you doing?" the demon asked. "Checking something," Payne replied. The demon studied Payne and let go of Payne's wrist. "Be careful," the demon mumbled, shooting Payne a warning glare after his murmured comment. Payne nodded and then carefully walked over to the cruiser. Payne didn't hear what would sound like a gunshot. All he heard was a sound that sounded like a heavy, hissing exhale. Exhale, yeah, okay. And then the window behind him shattered as the bullet grazed his cheek. Payne instantly scrambled out of the police cruiser and ducked out of sight away from the windows. Automatic instinct, if someone's shooting at you, you stay down and away from the windows. Moving on. I don't know how to do drunk people voices, so I'm going to do the normal voice and say it's a drunk person voice. "You stay away from my daughter's car." It's a dude, by the way, but he's drunk, and I don't know why I'm still trying. A drunken man shouted. "Next time I won't miss," he told Payne loudly. His voice slurred so Payne could barely understand him, because that actually happens a lot when you get drunk, your voice just kind of... I've been around a lot of drunk people. I'm gonna continue now. The demon, who had seen what had happened, decided to act. He leapt up on the balcony just as the drunk individual was about to pull the trigger and dropped his illusions when the man trained the silenced gun on him. Mind you, if someone is drunk and potentially has a gun and sees, I don't know, maybe a potential threat, they're gonna shoot. So that's that. Moving on. The demon chuckled softly as the man's eyes widened with terror. You let the kid go, and I'll let you live. I suggest you don't go against this favor I'm giving you. If you do, I'll kill you and drink your blood after I've had some much-needed fun listening to you scream and whimper in agony. The demon told the man, giving him a deceptively kind smile. He knew that as kind as the smile appeared, the man would perceive it as the threat it was meant to be. Because alcohol does things to the mind. Yeah. And no, I don't often drink. Maybe a shot of whiskey or two every once or 2 or 3 years. I say that as I pick up my cup of Mountain Dew. There's no whiskey in there. Moving on. Continuing. Perceive it as the threat it was meant to be. The man nodded and put down his gun. Kick it over, the demon ordered. The man did so, and the demon used his tail to make sure it remained away from the drunk man. Payne, who had heard everything, quickly returned to where war, famine, pestilence, and Norman were. The demon made sure the man didn't go after Payne, and then picked up an empty whiskey bottle. Oh, fucking God, what the hell? Moving on. Who is your daughter? The demon asked as he put the empty bottle down and looked at the man. Serena Lunar, the man reluctantly responded. The demon was silent as he looked at the man. You're lucky she cares about you, the demon stated. The man didn't look like he believed the demon. If she didn't, she wouldn't visit you, would she? The demon pointed out as he walked past the man and down the steps to rejoin the oddly assorted group. Let's go, the demon sighed. There weren't no arguments as they retreated back into the woods. And that's the end of chapter 4. As I said, it was extremely late, much later than I wanted it to be. Where the heck did my bookmark go? Oh, there it is. So, hopefully by the end of this week or whenever I can upload chapter 5. I am trying my best to be consistent. It's complicated. I think anyone who didn't know now knows. So, yeah, anyway, hopefully sometime this week I can upload chapter 5 and all of that. So, yeah. Woo! That was that chapter. Yep, and I have some accounts if any of you are all interested. I have a Wattpad account, which is at Tempesta771. I have a TikTok account, which I have to do more advertising of this series, this specific series that I'm writing, because I'm writing more than one series. Anyway, moving on. I have a TikTok account, which is under the name at AirJunCraven2, no uppercases or space. And I think maybe you can find it under Tempesta Braveheart. Don't quote me, I don't know. So just, I guess, look for at AirJunCraven2 to be on the safe side. I have an Instagram account, which is under the name Tempesta Braveheart. No uppercases, no space, and I also believe you can find that under AirJunCraven. Do not quote me. But if you don't want to write in the long name of Tempesta Braveheart, maybe you can search AirJunCraven and poof. I don't know. Don't quote me. I don't know. I have a Facebook where if I don't... I'll try to accept you if I don't know you, but if you turn out to be really creepy, I'm just gonna block you, because there are varying levels of creepiness, and not all of them are good. But I have a Facebook, which is under the name Airdrin Craven. I also have a Snapchat, which I don't go on very often, simply because I just don't. Which is also under the name Airdrin Craven, but my Snapchat has no uppercases or space. And we're all watching my YouTube, which is under the name Tempesta Braveheart. And I am seriously trying to be as consistent as I possibly can with the uploading of my chapters. So, yeah, moving on. That's that. So, hopefully by either the end of this week or sometime this week, I can upload Chapter 5. Chapter 4 is complete. You know my accounts. You know the reasons why you shouldn't bring your people kids. And, I'll try. I'll try to be consistent and have a Chapter 5 uploaded by either the end of this week or sometime this week, so. Peace out, Girl Scouts, and enjoy the mental hilarity.